Welcome everyone, we're delighted to have you here. We have a very special guest with us, Father Edwin John from India, who has stopped over here to talk to us about the amazing work that he's doing with communities in India around the issues of empowering people through the use of dynamic community governance, which is also known as sociocracy. And he is stopping here today on his way to the UN in New York, where he has been asked to participate as one of the experts in what's being called a live museum. So to try to bring people together, and as you will see from his presentation, he knows an awful lot about that. John Buck and I work at the Center for Dynamic Community Governance, so we do this locally, and so we work with a variety of different groups to help people take their vision of what they want to do and do it really well. And we have with us Monica, who also does this work, and so we're delighted to have you all here today. So without further ado, Father Edwin John, thank you.
Now, so you see there, neighborhoodization and then smallification. So these words you will not find in the dictionary, but we need those words, and they will more or less identify what we are going to talk about. Okay. So I start with my story. So in 1970s, late 1970s, I was made a parish priest in one of the parishes in Kanyakumari coast. And that village was known to be a little violent, unusually violent. And then when I went there were some 300 people nearly involved in various cases, and the advocates and the police people knew very well about that village. So I went there. A village is about 3,000 people or so about. And then when I went there, what I did, I organized this village into units of about 30 families each. We called it basic Christian communities. That's the idea. So we had nearly 17 such communities. And in each community, they had their own leaders, and they used to meet once a week or so, discuss. This was the structure. And then taking representatives from these neighborhood communities, we had a society. We called it Integral Development Society of Kodimune. Kodimune is the name of that village. And so they used to meet now and then. We used to have 5 representatives from each of these groups, and they will form the general body of the village. And then one representative from each of these groups will be the executive committee of the village, and a kind of administration was going on like that. And simultaneously, we also started a village court. That means one from each of these neighborhood communities, people themselves will choose, and they will form a kind of a village court. So they will sit around. If any issue there, it will be brought to them, and they will hear the arguments, give a judgment, like that. It was going. So I was there for 5.5 years. And by the time I left the village, we brought the number of people involved in various criminal cases to nearly 0. And then along with that, we started also a housing society, also consisting of representatives from these neighborhood communities. And then also we had a kind of saving society, also consisting of representatives from these neighborhood community. So whatever we did it through representatives of these communities, who in turn will go and discuss with the people and come back with the feedback. So this was the system. So this became a kind of a sensational talk around. And nearby diocese, there was one nearby diocese, Trivandrum. Trivandrum is supposed to be the capital city of the state of Kerala. Kerala is known, very famous. I will explain to you later. And then this diocese.
So it's down on the very southern end of India.
Okay, southern end. This village was down southernmost point where I was there. No, okay. So Kerala was some 70 kilometers away from there. Use miles, is it?
Not kilometers is fine. No,
okay, yeah. Some 70 kilometers away was the Trivandrum city. And there was this Trivandrum diocese. They came to know about my work. They called me whether I could introduce it there. So when we introduced there, they accepted wholeheartedly. And within some 6 months or so, they organized the entire diocese as neighborhood communities, which they called basic Christian communities. And parish was supposed to be a communion of these neighborhood communities. Okay. And then this got the attention of the entire Church of India. And what happened today, almost all the Catholic dioceses in India have these neighborhood communities. And then nearly 100,000 of such communities function in the Catholic Church in India. So that's the next slide.
Question, such as in your small first town that you organized?
Pardon?
In the first town that you organized, were all the people Catholic?
Yeah, they were Catholics.
Okay. Is
Yeah.
that true throughout most of
Yeah,
them?
yeah. It was a Catholic village. Then it went to Catholic Church. Okay. And then later, okay, this was with regard to the Catholic Church. Then as this was taking place in the parishes in Trivandrum city, government took notice of it. So there was one, so this is the way they sit around. Now of course they sit in the chairs and so on. Those days they will be sitting around the floor like, so okay. And so this kind of meetings take place, neighborhood meetings, okay. And when this was taking place in the city of Trivandrum, in the parishes there was one urban poverty alleviation cell of the government of the state government of Kerala. Kerala is one of the Indian states. And so, and these people, along with, there was one Loyola School of Social Sciences. They joined together and came and made a study of the whole process. And from that, they evolved the concept of neighborhood groups of poor women. Neighborhood groups of poor women. So women in the neighborhood, especially poor women, were organized as neighborhood groups. And then they had their savings, they had their credits, and then income generation programs. And many of the government programs at the local governance level were routed through these groups. And they started in one place. So they started in one place called Alappuzha. It was a kind of a municipal town. And there, the poor women were organized as neighborhood groups. And these neighborhood groups were federated at the level of the ward. That means they called it ADS, Area Development Society.
And by federated, you mean?
Federation, yeah.
Yeah, the basic group was connected to the next highest group.
Next level, yeah.
Yeah.
The neighborhood representatives form the next level organization that they call Area Development Society. And then the representatives from the area development societies, they came together again, which we say federated, at the level of the entire municipality. That they call it Community Development Society, that is CDS. And this program in no time won global attention, and they won the award, We the People's Award from UN, as one of the best community-led practices, one. And then they said, but it had its own critics. They said, okay, you can do that in a place like Alapura, because that is somewhat sensitized village, people are aware, but you cannot do that in a backward area like that.
Are you affiliated with the Brahmin Bank?
That is Bangladesh. That's different. And then the organizers, they took it as a challenge. They said, we will do it in one of the most backward areas. They chose one district. That district was called Malappuram district. According to the national parameters, one of the most backward districts. And there, when they went, they had neighborhood groups. Next level, they had ward level ADS, that means area development societies. Third level, they had local governance level, which they call panchayat there. CDS, community development societies. And this local governance structures came together at the next level called sub-district level. There they call block level or union level. Okay.
So
and
it's 4 levels.
Now 4 levels. That is sub-district level. And then representatives from the sub-district level came together again, federated at the level of the district. So how many levels now? 5. This again won global attention, UN awards and so on, okay, because achievement so much. And then the Prime Minister came down. Then it was launched as a state program. Now this was up to the district. Now they wanted to launch it for the entire state. And when they launched it for the entire state, now already we have 5 levels, no? When you launch it for the entire state, it should be 1 more level. So how many should it be? 6 levels. Then the politicians woke up. They said, only 3 levels will do. Otherwise, it will confuse the local governance structures that they call panchayats, and it will weaken those structures like that. Then there was somebody who was a key person in this process. Then he was telling me, it's not that they care very much for the strengthening of the panchayat, they can't care less about it, but the real reason is they are afraid. They are afraid. Now we'll come to this present day situation. That process, how it has evolved. Only 3 levels. They did not go to the sub-district level. They did not go to the district level. And then, sorry, what has happened today, they have, I think, latest statistics you could see in their website, not now, later you could see. Earlier it was 2,600. Now, no, 260,000. Earlier it was. Now I think it is 280,000.
Local.
Neighborhood groups of poor women, federated at the level of the ward and at the level of the local governance structure, which they call panchayats. Okay.
Is that all within this one state that you were talking about?
Pardon?
Are those all within the one state?
All in one state. Now that person who was telling me was visualizing a situation. He said, suppose all these women federated from the base level up to the various levels up to the state. Now they have limited only to 3 levels. Had it been up to the state, then it would have been 6 levels. And how many units I said? 280,000 units, each unit having so many families, and each family having so many members, all put together. What an immense number, no? Okay. If all of them come together, if they are, all of them are federated with such a lot of representation, basic representative power coming straight from the base and federated to various levels en bloc as a state level unit. If they have one structure like that, what would be the situation? If there had been one, they can dictate terms to the government. Okay.
They can elect who they want.
They can dictate terms to the government. They can say this is what we want. And then the government has to attend to their demand, or they could simply say, then we will, if we are not doing it, we will declare ourselves to be the government. The possibility. Because this organized strength has more representative power and sustained dynamic structural power than any political party. True. And so they have every moral right to declare themselves to be the government. Then of course they will say, no, that's not according to the constitution, and you have to stand for elections, and then they can stand for elections and win. Okay. And now that's what more or less has happened to some extent. Now in the last 2 local governance elections in that state, more women got elected than men. In other states, they are struggling to bring in a kind of proportion of women, 30%, sometimes now one or two states saying 50% like that. They are struggling. But here, without any such compulsion, automatically through this process, more women get elected than men. I don't know whether it means much for you in the American context, but in our context.
What are they elected to? What are they elected to?
What offices were they elected
Is
to?
it like a national parliament?
No, you see what I said this one. They were neighborhood structures,
I understand that.
and they were federated at the ward level. Then they were federated at the local governance level only. The other one they didn't want, so they could not go further. But with what they already achieved, they got to know the power of the local government structure.
So was it local city councils, or was it the state legislature?
Or national
No,
purpose, what?
That they got elected to?
see, I said local governance elections. I said local governance means panchayat, what we call there,
So a local panchayat.
panchayat, municipality, and all those things. Okay, only up to that level they were federated. The other ones, politicians saw to it that they were not federated any further, right? This one. So this is a kind of a kind of a pointer to what could be achieved if neighborhood parliaments and neighborhood structures were built and made to have their representative structures at various levels. Okay.
You described the Panchayat, is that kind of like a county here?
It's,
Yeah,
it's,
It's a division of the state? The
It's
state's
somewhere
the right
between a
number?
township and a county.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, something like that.
The borders of the states.
Okay, yeah,
Okay, thank you.
fine. So the women have taken over the local governance there. Okay. Now, this is one way, one level. And they have this program up to this only, third level. They call it Kudumba Shri, that program. And you can go to the website.
Tell people what the website is.
All right?
What the website is. What is the website?
www.kudumbaSHREE.
Say it one more time.
Why don't
K-
you send that out in an email to us, please?
Yeah.
That would probably be the
Yeah,
And we'll write it down too.
okay, right, okay. That's fine.
Spell it once again.
So now,
Spell it once again.
KUDUMBASHREE .org.
Org.
Yeah. Okay. So if you go through that, you will find what an immense power structure has been organized. One. Now, so many governments are now coming to study that. From the other states they are coming. From other countries are also they are coming to study that. That means there also they will have what? Neighborhood structures, slowly, and federations. And now this one development. That is neighborhoods of poor women. Then lately the development has been that in addition to the Kudumbashree's type of neighborhood groups of poor women, the government is also coming forward with what we call neighborhood parliaments. Neighborhood parliaments. We call it neighborhood parliaments. They call it Ayal Sabhas. Ayal means neighborhood. Sabhas means assembly or parliaments. Okay.
Define for them what parliament means. We might say legislature here. But
Okay. Ayal means neighborhood. Sabha, assembly, coming together. We call it neighborhood parliament. Why parliament we call? Because there is one Latin word parlare. What does it mean? To speak. From that comes parlor. What does it mean? Where you talk, place where you talk. From there comes parley. What does it mean? Negotiations, talking.
Parlay.
Okay, huh?
Parlay.
Parlay, call it. Okay. And then from that root word also comes parliament. That means the forum where you come and talk, talking forum. So it is like this. You are all supposed to be co-kings and co-queens of this nation. So as co-kings and co-queens, you have to come together to discuss on the issues that matter. You have to rule. So you need a place to talk, a forum. So we give you a forum that is supposed to be what? Parliament. That is the original development of parliament. But later what happens, people didn't go to the forum, right? And all they could get was a once in 5 year token participation in terms of putting a vote. Okay. Right?
So what he's saying is the way the legislature's set up is once every 3, 4, 5 years, you get your voice one time on a piece of paper where you're voting for a representative.
Even then, you don't have much voice there actually. You don't have much voice. Because it's not you who choose the candidates properly. True or not? Often it turns out that you like neither this fellow nor that fellow, but you have no other choice, you'll have to choose only one of them. As if choosing between the devil and the deep sea, no choice. So people have no choice, right? So actually there is no content to their decisive articulation. That's the thing. Okay. And so this has been the process. So we say, why not take the talking forum straight to people, straight to where people are, and where do the people live? Pardon?
In the villages and countryside.
Villages, countryside, then what? Where do people, correct answer only, yeah. People, everybody without any exception lives in a neighborhood, correct? True or not? So if you have to get all the people involved in this parliamentary process, then the parliament should go to where people are, and people are without any exception, everybody is in a neighborhood. So we need neighborhood parliaments, neighborhood talking forums. Okay. And so this has been the process now starting. Okay. We came up to where the Kerala state experiments of neighborhood parliaments, which they call Ayal Sabhas. And they have come out with the detailed guidelines on how to conduct meetings, what should be the agenda for the meetings, who all should be in charge of what. Yes?
So just a question. So for some time now, Kerala is very unique in that the ruling party is actually the Communist Party of India. So how much of an effect of that allowed, say, the neighborhood communities to develop?
Yeah, and we'll come back to that answer. Anyway, since you asked that, this was not started exactly because of a communist government initiative. Initially, they were only tolerating. But when it became big, they are warning of the the credit for it. But whether it is Congress government or communist government, they were not able to disturb the neighborhood process of the Kudumbashri, because they were afraid. Okay, that's the idea. Because Kerala, what happens is they alternate. If it is communist government this time, next government will be Congress. It will go on like that. Okay. So that's one question. Okay, right. Now we come to the next one. So this is the thing, no? So we were just thinking, and before going to that, I will come to another one. Along this process, we started also neighborhood parliaments of children. Children were grouped as parliaments, talking forums, on the basis of the territories they come from, neighborhoods, neighborhood like that. So we said about 30 children will form one children's parliament, and they will be responsible for their neighborhood, their residential area. That will be their area of jurisdiction. Like that. Okay. They are accountable for that, anything. So these children, we will get the children together, and then one of them will be elected prime minister, and there will be a deputy prime minister, and then the secretary will be the parliamentary affairs minister, and then finance minister, and in addition they will have any issue that is at the level that is relevant at that level, they will have a ministry each. So, a health minister, then what?
Education.
Education minister, then huh? Health, no?
Housing.
Housing, then cleanliness, sports, children's welfare, environment, transportation, human rights, child rights, everything. For that they have ministries. And we tell them as many ministers as possible, the more the better. In one place what happened, there were some 30 children. One nun was trying to promote that. So she wanted to see how many ministries there could be. So they more or less identified some 15 at that level. Then this sister was feeling bad. 30 children, only 15 ministries. All the others were deputy ministers. So everybody has some role like that. Okay. And then, now let us think. Suppose one boy or a girl given a responsibility, chosen as say environment minister. What will that boy or girl do?
Focus in on the issues that are concerning all 30 of them in terms of how the environment is affecting them. Water,
Yeah.
soil, food.
Okay. One, good. Then next, what will he or she do?
Start connecting with other people on that issue.
Connecting with other people on that issue. Very good. Then
Organize them, I guess.
organizing. Good. Then
Figure out an action, what to do about one of those.
what to do about, start thinking about it. Okay. Collecting data, reading about it, consulting others about it, and becomes a kind of a specialist, going deep into the issue, because next time around he or she has to say something sensible. Okay. So that becomes a kind of big motivation for them to go deeper into an issue. And when they begin to go deeper into one issue, the same tendency percolates to other areas, and they become inquisitive, studious. And without telling them, come on, study, they really study. That's the idea. They become leaders. Suppose, in a group like this, everyone specializes in something. The whole group gets a kind of multi-sided awareness, right? Everybody is aware about so many issues, because so many people from so many angles, telling us this and challenging us with this and so on. One. And then these people discuss about it. When they discuss about it, what happens?
They learn about each other's issues.
Pardon?
They learn about each other's issues.
They learn about issues, okay, then.
Solutions can get developed.
Solutions come about, then.
Then you start working on what to do about it.
What to do about it, then.
By acting, they feel more empowered. And
They
confident.
feel more empowered, very good, then. They become more articulate. Okay. They learn how to discuss meaningfully, and then they implement those decisions, team spirit, and they achieve.
Tell about the story of the bridge.
They achieve, and when they achieve, people appreciate, and they become more confident. They emerge as leaders. They develop a taste for doing good for others, taste for proactive involvement. He wants me to narrate the story. These children achieve a lot. They bring in, if there is no street light, they see that street light comes. If the bus stops are not functioning properly, they say, see that it functions. And then they bring in new access roads, new bus routes, new upgrading of new schools. All this through the initiative of children has come up. He is asking especially to narrate one issue. So there was one village, and in that village, one school, and children were seen standing outside the class for a few days consecutively, some children. So the children's parliament there discusses about the issue. And then they ask, why are they coming, why are they standing outside? Punished. Punished for what? For coming late. Why are they coming late? And then they find out that when during rainy season, the water gets accumulated, and without adult help, children cannot cross that and come. Then they say, this is not children's mistake. Why should the children be punished? Then they say, then what could be the solution? They discuss about it. Only a bridge could be the solution. So the solution is what? Bridge. Then that is something we cannot do by ourselves. If it is something they can do by themselves, they will do. There have been cases where they collected money, bought a goat for an blind old man like that. Okay. Like this, various initiatives they are done, taken up and achieved. But this is bringing what? A bridge is beyond them. So what to do? Then they have the usual approach is when it is beyond them, they approach the big people, the grown-ups, elders, for this local governance structures, district government structures like that. And so they said, okay, we will write a memorandum and take it to the local governance structure, which we call panchayat there. And then these people went there, and then one boy was telling me, initially when we went there, they were not taking us seriously. They were thinking only small children. But we persisted. And they went on persisting. And then, when children persist, you become defenseless, At the end, what happens? They write a project and send to the state government, 5,400,000 rupees were sanctioned. How much will be in dollars?
5,400,000. I can't make the conversion.
Okay,
it's
that's a big money.
Many $1,000s.
Okay, that's a big money there. Okay, and then when the bridge, when the work was going on for the bridge, these children were standing there as supervisors, like and you could see the picture. Like this, such a lot of achievements. Okay, and then lately what we did. And then these children were also, these neighborhood parliaments of children were federated at various levels. And in 2013, I came along with two prime ministers, state prime ministers, child prime ministers. One was former one, another one was the present one. The present one that year was one Swarna Lakshmi, one girl. She was only studying in 8th grade, but she was state child prime minister. Okay. And then she came here, and that time it was March, month of March 8th. What's the day?
Women's Day?
Women's Day, okay. And so there was a big meeting to observe this Women's Day at UN. And all the big wigs of the UN were on the dais. And then all the talks were over. Then the moderator asked, anybody from the audience would like to talk? This girl put up her hand. And then got permission. And then she saw the moderator, this girl was being guided to the mic. She was trying to find her way. And you could see that it's still coming in the UN website, that video. And then the moderator looked embarrassed, worried whether he gave the wrong permission. Why do you think she was fumbling her way? Blind. Visually challenged girl. So a visually challenged girl, 13 years, elected state child prime minister, coming to UN. And then she took the mic and said, I am Swarna Lakshmi. I am the state child prime minister of Tamil Nadu. And we have children's parliaments in our place. And we take up this issue of violence against women and girls. That was the theme that time. Zero tolerance to violence against women and girls was the theme. And for example, there was one girl called Gayatri in one of our districts. She was only 15 years old. Her parents arranged a marriage for her against her wish. And we children parliamentarians, child parliament, discussed about it in our parliaments. We said this is violation of rights. It's a violation of child rights. It's a violence. So we intervened. The marriage was stopped. So she said, you also start in all your places, children's parliaments. The violence against women and girls will be stopped. Thank you. 1 minute only she could talk. But so it was not a prepared one. All of a sudden she gets a chance, she talks. And she got that day maybe the longest ovation. And that girl today is the national child prime minister.
Before we take a break, why don't you talk about when you started using sociocracy or dynamic community governance?
Okay, yeah, fine. Okay. So now she has already come to UN 3 times. That girl, no? Our child prime minister. Leading various
national
level.
Yeah.
And then next week she is going to Geneva UN meeting again. And then she has already submitted a memorandum to the UN Secretary General asking that a world parliament be organized and that UN take the initiative. World Parliament of Children. Okay. Okay. So that is more or less the same. Okay. And then based on this we evolved a dream. We evolved a dream. Now I spoke about what? Children's parliament, neighborhood, then next level, next level, next level, next level, sub-district level, district level, then what? State level, national level, then what? International, they ask for a global parliament, you know. Then what? Global level. This is children are pushing. Suppose we have a structure like that for the grown-ups. That means people gather in their neighborhoods. They have ministers to attend to various needs, because if everything is in everybody's heads, nobody is responsible, right? So responsibilities are assigned and given to various people, and they get federated at various levels up to the global level. Dream, huh? Okay. And then we say this kind of multi-tier representative structure should be guided by some 5 principles. First the 5 principles. That is, one, smallness. That's why I put smallification. Okay. And then we should be neighborhood based groups, small sized groups, about 30 families. So entire villages are now organized as 30 family units. And each unit has its own cabinet ministers to respond to local or international concerns wherever they are, whatever they are interested in. And then they are federated, not only at the base, but at every level the forum has to be small. That is the principle of smallification. Okay. Why has it to be small? Because we say this is a small structure, correct? And here everybody is important. Everybody has a face. Everybody has a name, known an identity. Everybody is given attention. Everybody is important. Everybody is somebody and nobody is nobody, right? Okay. And everybody matters. And everybody's tears are seen and responded to, if it is a small one. If it is big one, you have no name. You become a nobody, right? And you want to prove that you are somebody. Okay. All this. Okay. And then the bigger a forum becomes, the more it becomes the game of the bigger voices. True or not?
Yes, the bigger voices.
So how many are here now? 12. Now suppose it becomes 1,200,000 people, one constituency, what would happen? Who can talk?
Just a few.
Few means in terms of what? On what basis will they talk?
Whoever has louder voice.
Who will get a louder voice for such a big forum like how many? 1,200,000 you say? Okay. Who will have?
It'll either be the money.
Money.
Or
So when the forums become big, only the money power can talk. That means you have to mobilize, you will have to buy media, you will have to bribe, various things like that. You will have to negotiate underhand deals, everything. Then at the end, who will be ruling? Only the money. Okay. So it will be a rule by the rich, of the rich, and for the rich. Okay.
Of course, we can't relate to that here.
Yeah, right.
Okay? Okay, fine. So we say one principle is smallness. Second principle that will come later, I think we have to go for some tea or something, is it?
Well, I just wanted to be sure that we
Okay. Okay. So first principle, what was it? Smallness. So smallification. Before that, what? The first slide? Neighborhoodization. Okay. Because why neighborhood? Because anything that is governance based is territorially organized normally. True? Okay. Territory is the place where various concerns converge and come together, get some balance of attention and so on. Okay. And then we say, if it has to be, how small? Should not be big enough that people don't get attention, one, and should not be too small that it cannot sustain itself. Why I say that? Are you with me now or tired now? Are you following me or tired?
We're following you.
Okay. Now, okay, we said it has to, how small we say, normally we say everybody should sit in one circle, nobody in the second row, and they must be able to talk without a microphone. That is a manageable group. Okay. So such a group can admit only so many people. Anything more should be next group. So we say 30 family units. More than that, next group. Now next level of the federation. It can get representatives only from so many groups, so many neighborhoods. Otherwise, it will be too big. So, more than so many neighborhoods means another level. Okay. So, next word, like I don't know whether you use that word I think like that. Okay. And then that is second level. Third level means it can contain representatives only from so many second level units. Fourth level means it can contain representatives from so many third level units. So, like this if it goes, at the end the state can contain representatives from only so many districts, and nation can contain representatives from only so many states. More than that, it becomes another nation. Okay. Otherwise, what will happen? Big countries, small countries, my territory, your territory, so border wars, and then if every country is of the same size, the principle is called numerical uniformity, number wise. So, nation means only so many people, state means only so many people, district means only so many people. If it is like that, there cannot be border wars. When there is no border war, practically there is no war at all. And when there is no war, no need for defense expenses, no need for nuclear armaments, no need for this atomic energy defenses and things like that, no need. No need for this arms, what they call deal, okay, no need. And all the money, more than half the money normally of the budget goes for defense. All the money could be for good use. Okay. So, second principle we said numerical uniformity. Then third we call it, we were using the word subsidiarity, that is one level main, next subsidiary. He came out with a better expression, lowest level action or something like that.
Yeah, the action at the lowest level.
Low action, the decision action at the lowest level. So, anything that can be handled at any lowest level, do not take it to any higher level. Okay. So, most of the decisions will have to be taken where then? At the base. And when you have to take decisions at the base, you will have to consult one another. When everybody is consulted this way, what does everybody feel? Heard. And when they are heard, what is their feeling? They are making a difference, that they matter, that they are important, they are affirmed. And this affirmation is very important or not? Will anybody like to be a nobody? Okay? Nobody. And then our structure is that almost everybody becomes a nobody, only a few people become somebody. And to become that somebody, everybody competes, everybody spends such a lot of money because nobody wants to be a nobody. Okay. And nobody wants to be a second-rate person also. True or not? Okay. So, why not we have a structure where everybody is somebody, everybody is valued, everybody is consulted, and that will change the psychology of the whole nation and whole world like that. Okay. And then that is principle, what is that principle? Lowest level action, right? Okay. And then fifth principle, we call it convergence. Convergence means once you have this neighborhood structures, everything should converge at these structures. Whatever you do, you have to do through these structures. So, if you have credits, do it through neighborhood, savings, do through the neighborhood, insurance, do through the neighborhood, health action, do through the neighborhood, child welfare action, do through the neighborhood, then what, exercise, meditation, whatever you do it through the neighborhood. Why? What I say is this one, it is easy to organize the neighborhoods. I would even say to organize the whole world as neighborhoods, in principle it is only one day's job. In principle, I don't say in practice. Why do I say it is one day's job?
Well, if it's small enough, people can.
Yeah, it's small, so small, you can clap hands, come on, let us meet together and let us have some people to represent us. Started. And then to tell the whole world a message, how much time do we need in today's world? In no time. Not if Edwin thinks, but if right people with the right access think about it, it's only in no time we can reach with the message. Okay. So I say in principle one day will do to organize the entire world. But more difficult to sustain these groups. To sustain them, make them keep coming together, make them warn up that this is our group, we belong here, to develop that collective we feeling, collective sense of identity, what we call collective ego, and that requires a job. It's more difficult. Okay. And what we say, once this collective identity ego of a group is adequately reinforced, nobody will be able to bypass that, they will not allow. Why didn't they consult us, they will ask. Okay. To reach that level, the group needs to be active, no? And how do we ensure that we feeling or collective identity or ego of any group? By giving them things to do together. If you have things to do together, they have to come together, they have to meet, they have to discuss, they have to decide, and in this process the cohesion takes place. They become more and more glued to one another and they become an organized unit. So we say if you want start, the principle should be whatever you can do through these structures, do it through these structures. Don't bypass them. If we just have this principle, when the base becomes strong, then the rest will follow easily. Okay.
So what I suggest we do is if you would tell the story about how you came across sociocracy or
Okay, well, fine, yeah. Okay.
Then I'd like to take a break.
Okay.
And we come back and talk about how
Yeah.
we apply it to
Fine,
people.
fine, yeah. So this is what we are proposing. What? Multi-tier global networking, representative networking of neighborhood communities of about 30 families each, guided by principles of smallification, then numerical uniformity, then subsidiarity, recall scope and convergence. Then normally convergence.
What was the fourth one?
Fourth one, recall. That means, see, it's like this. I didn't explain that, I think, Okay. You see, now suppose you have elected somebody and you are not happy with the way he functions. Do you have any choice now? No choice. Because you cannot have elections every day, they will say. Correct? Fine. This happens always. And then the people are helpless. He or she makes such a lot of promises, and then they are not measuring up, and then people have no choice. Correct? They are helpless. Because if we say we have to call back, is it that easy? What an amount of expense it involves? This will be the answers. Now in our structure, at every level it is small. Down it is small, at every level it is a face-to-face community, where everybody sits in one circle, nobody in the second row, and is able to talk without a mic. If that small at every level the structures are, any time you are not happy with the fellow you elected from your level to the level immediately above, you can call your face-to-face community and decide to call him back any day. So, suppose we have a structure like that. I ask people in groups, what could be the world like? Any immediate feedback? What would be the world like?
There would be accountability.
Accountability. Now, don't ask me, tell me there are difficulties. I know there are difficulties. Any worthwhile suggestion will have difficulties, right? But now we concentrate on the possibilities. Suppose this comes about, what would be the world like?
You feel like your issues have been addressed.
You feel like your issue has been addressed?
You understand that mistakes do happen, but at least you're giving a way to fix it.
Fix it, okay, good.
Fewer promises
Pardon?
they can't keep. Fewer promises they can't keep.
Fewer
Fewer
promises.
promises that can't be kept.
Okay, very good, fine, good.
People would have to be sincere when they
Yeah,
are being elected.
elected,
Otherwise, they know
okay,
they're done for.
good, fine, good.
Sounds like an ideal world.
Ideal world, good.
No corruption.
No corruption.
Let's do it.
Pardon?
Let's do it.
Let us do it, okay? So, this is what the response I get normally. I present it, then ask people, suppose this comes about. What evils will not be there? What good things will be there? What will be the world like? They will say it will be paradise on earth and this one, that one, like that, no? Okay. Then you say, let us do it, right? Okay. Okay. And then we circulated this dream through the internet. Then two people wrote back to us. They have you heard about sociocracy? Till then I never heard about that. Then there was a kind of a challenge for me to find out what it is. So I went hunting for that. Then I found that we had much in common. Then I got interested in sociocracy, right? Then I was looking for the literature on that, and eventually the biggest book in English was brought about by this great man, John Buck. We will give him a clap. Yeah. Okay. So we began to work together. That explains the reason why I am here, because I came for a UN meeting and I am in Greenbelt because he is somewhere around. Okay,
And
good.
this is the book that he's talking about.
Yeah,
We the People.
it's a very good book.
Consenting to a deeper
Now, we the people, second part is there.
Yes, consenting to a deeper.
Consenting to a deeper democracy.
Graham Ford. Sociography, Graham Ford.
No, John Buck.
John Buck.
Okay, so this is more or less the background. Now we are just wondering, see, talks can, we had a discussion with this ECOSOC people. You know ECOSOC? United Nations Economic and Social Council. Then they gave me some time. My friends asked that some time somewhere for an appointment for me. And these people are very stingy with regard to their time, Earlier once they invited me all the way from India, they gave me 2.5 minutes only. And then I was thinking, what only all the ambassadors also getting only 2.5 minutes. So they are that much, regimented like. Then I was trying to cut short, then these people, when they started listening to me, they went on for nearly 1.5 hours. Okay, there's such a lot of interest. And then at the end they told me, you see, this is very good, but as long as you say only as an idea, they will come out with such a lot of objections based on their background, say this will not work, this will not work, like that. do it at least one small place. And then that's a success story, they cannot refute it. And that is more powerful than giving such a lot of talks. Now, the idea is, why not a success story from Greenbelt? We practice it and we show this can work. Then others will come to study, they will imitate, and Greenbelt will show a new way to the whole world for a peaceful, and then what? Peaceful and happy world. Okay, very nice. Thank you. Right, we will go for tea or something, right?
Could you do a exercise, an energizer, then we'll come back and try to focus it on Greenbelt.
Now, these materials which we have there, the booklets, they are available in our website too. You can download, because sending them all the way from there will be too costly.
And what is the website address to do that?
Yeah, www. Children Parliament.
Children,
Parliament.
Parliament.
And not children's.
Not
children's. You wrote it correctly.
Okay.
Parliament.in.
.in.
The next one, www. Neighborhoodization. BOUR.
Yeah.
Neighborhoodization.
Hood,
Neighborhood.
As
Neighbor, oh.
neighborhoodization.org. And still more, www. Neighborhood, that's BOR. Neighborhood Parliament.org. Okay. For time, then we have also Facebook,
Okay.
Children Parliament Global.
Children's,
Parliament,
I think it's singular.
singular or plural, with an S?
well,
Children
Children.
Parliament Global.
For everyone who's provided us an email address, not to worry, we'll forward all this out. If you don't have an email address, we'll leave this up here and you can copy it afterwards.
And my email, anybody wants? Edwin M. John. EDWIN.
Edwin
M.
M.
John @gmail.com. Okay. Now, we will go through some pictures, okay? Now,
I want to add one thing before you get to pictures. On the table there, I put one more address. If anyone chooses to donate to the wonderful work that is being done, there's a way to write a check for this Indian nonprofit so that we can support this wonderful work.
that would be highly appreciated. Okay. Okay, now, yeah, just this is neighborhood parliaments in between the midst of the houses, people gather around at night normally and then discuss about various issues in the neighborhood.
In
Okay.
India, it's normal to sit on the floor. If this were in India, we'd be on the floor.
Okay, next. Next. And this is where you find that girl there. Second one. Here one girl is there, she is interpreting in sign language. Next one, the thinner one. She is the National Child Prime Minister of India. This is the meet. She was, that's a meeting at the UN earlier. Lately, we took the children's parliaments to schools also. Schools. So when they, even in the schools, it is not based on the various grades they study, but intergrade groups based on the territories they come from, their residential territories. So children coming to this school from this area, they become one parliament. Children coming from this school from this area, they become another parliament. Like this, various children's parliaments. In one particular school there, they meet simultaneously every week. Every Thursday morning 1 hour is given to them. That 1 hour will do. We say 1 hour a week will do. Right? Okay. And then next.
They, just to comment, they use rounds and consent decision making, just like we learned to do in dynamic community governance.
Yeah. And then, if they meet 1 week like this, neighborhood based, next week, the ministers meet separately as theme based groups. That means, health related ministers will meet separately from all these neighborhood parliaments. Then peace related ministers will meet separately in another parliament. And then, environment related ministers will meet separately in another parliament, like that.
One thing you didn't mention is that these different ministries are all aligned with the UN.
SDGs. UN Sustainable Development Goals, you know that, no? For all those goals, in each of the neighborhood parliaments, there is a child minister. That means one child will be focusing on that. So, okay, every week, every other meetings are theme-based meetings of the ministers of various concerns, like, for various concerns like SDGs. SDGs means Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. Okay, next. National Child Prime Minister of India with Parliamentarians Group for Children on Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, next. Taking SDGs, no, Kerala I spoke about, this IL Sabhas, neighborhood parliaments in Kerala state. There also they are taking this SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, to the base, action by people at the base. Next. This is a handbook for child ministers for SDGs. So, we the child ministers vibe with UN, no? So, for each goal, such a lot of action suggestion given for the ministers. That booklet is here. So, that is a beginning one. This is starting one. Now, they said each school has to develop its own. And such a lot of materials now coming from UN on these goals. So, they will not run short of materials. Next one. Mobilized a sum of rupees 2,983 crores as thrift and disbursed loans amounting to 12,000 crores to the members of neighborhood groups.
Crores is 100,000.
No, 10 million.
10 billion.
Okay, yeah. Now next page, next one. Women cultivators. How many women cultivators? That means people in agriculture.
2 million women and 50,000 groups.
Groups for collective farming. Then joint liability groups. Then how many children's parliaments do they have?
7,000.
In one state. How many children are involved?
Lakh is what?
100,000.
Okay.
It's like more than 1 million.
Now, somewhere we have to begin, correct? Why not we begin in Greenbelt?
So yesterday we did an interesting little exercise.
Yeah.
We met briefly and we were just looking at census data from Greenbelt from 2010. So it's not, these aren't hard numbers, and Molly or Ben, you might know what the actual numbers are. But in 2010, it was 24,000 people in Greenbelt. And so we were doing the math in terms of what that would look like if we separated that into 30 units. It was real interesting math that you were doing, the idea of, for example, it applies to any housing situation, but let's say GHI, 30 families would be, pretty close together. And what if instead of just waiting for let's say, GHI or the city to do something, what if we were organized together on that super local level to say, this is a concern we had, and if every other grouping of 30 families, whether it was in Greenbrier or any other part, just, I mean, the power of that, because then instead of having to organize issue by issue, time by time, it would be existing structures that would be recognized. So I thought it was a pretty fascinating approach where if everyone was a prime minister of something, then things would get done. Because as you were talking about, people would have deep knowledge on that thing instead of all of us feeling we need to be really expert on all of those things, which of course is impossible.
Good. Yeah, that's some 30 family units that we thought, okay. And then they will be federated at one level. Then next, federated means group that's
The double linking is a
representative
dynamic
structure,
governance concept.
Yeah.
Why don't you take a second to just explain it?
It means that you should be connected between levels of circles by a couple of people.
Here, let me break it down really simply.
Two representatives from each.
Yeah.
um,
And
So for example, let's say this is the group of 30 people. The next group, and by the next group, it doesn't mean this is a better group. It just means a higher level of abstraction, so to speak. So you have, a representative from here on this group and a representative from here on this group so that you have awareness and connection, and that goes all the way, both up and across. And so that's how people get connected up and aware of what everyone is doing. You're actually involved in all aspects of governance.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying the second level, someone from that will be, the second level there is going to be a representative down there who is not from that group initially.
That's right, that's right. So representatives, so one job of, let's say, the prime minister would be to be the representative on this group, and vice versa.
Okay.
I was going to just suggest Greenbelt Homes, which is the original housing structure in Greenbelt. It was built by the federal government. They have an annual meeting. There's 1,600 units, housing units. And they're actually talking about trying at the next annual meeting, instead of having people come in and go by alphabetical, but to do kind of structure people by where they live. And this kind of goes back to the original concept too. There was as the housing was built, there was different blocks. And so people associated with their neighborhood unit. And so if you read old news review articles, you would have the A block, playing baseball against the B block. And people had a strong connection to their, students, the different teams and different ways of designating. It was a way of identifying in a particular area. So I think it would work very nicely here. It's figuring out, as you said, what's the appropriate groupings, and then too, lots of people that live in different parts of the Greenbelt Homes housing, have different, interests or neighborhood issues. So it would be a good way to divide.
Well, whether it would be done by courts or blocks within GHI or the other geographical residential areas of the city, and that's one thing, by the way, I'm interrupting myself. We don't have, even in Greenbelt, a consistent neighborhoods. We have homeowner associations and or a cooperative. We have condominium associations. People are tied not so much publicly to Greenbelt as they are tied, strictly speaking, to their housing association. But there's no reason that blocks in GHI or residential areas of Greenbrier or Hunting Ridge or this new out thing in the South Borough couldn't meet and play ball together, or meet and discuss substantive issues together. My question is, if it's a question of substantive issues, how do these ad hoc associations of just residents influence policy that would be made in Greenbelt's case by Greenbelt City Council?
Right,
Or
that's-
by the Prince George's County Council, or by the State General Assembly or Congress? How do ad hoc associations influence the making of policy? I'm anxious to hear the answer.
Anybody would like to answer to that?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, at the city level, we have, when people feel strongly about an issue, it takes about 30 or 40 people to show up at the city council meeting to affect the change. There's this kind of number that is suggested, and it's, again, it's in blocks. When you have that many people, it's hard for the powers to be to kind of ignore the voice of a number of, that many people coming forward. So.
And it's certainly true, there has been instances in recent years that I'm personally aware of, and others are personally aware of, where multiples of 30 or 40 or more people have crowded into the council chamber, and that presence may have influenced a specific decision made either that night or shortly thereafter at the next regular meeting. But largely, those people leave as soon as their issue is addressed.
Right.
And what's left is one or two, if that many, residents other than council and city staff. And if it's very often when people leave that council will then make pronouncements or even announcements of things that people largely aren't hearing.
Right, and so if you get organized, I think that he's saying that it'd make a difference. So why don't you continue your thought?
Yeah. So what we see, some 30 family units, numerically uniformly organized. That means nobody is at more advantaged position and less advantaged position like that. Okay. And each of these neighborhoods we have ministers. Ministers for any concern that pertain at that level. And also I understand there are existing organizations representing various concerns. They also could have a minister to represent that concern in these neighborhoods, so that everything goes in an integrated way. Not one thing in competition with others, but everything gets integrated. This way, for example, when you go to a school, we start the children's parliaments. Then they say we already have scouts, we already have Red Cross, we already have red ribbons, we already have Green Army. I said no problem. For all of them, we will ensure a minister in each of the neighborhood parliaments. Now, for example, you saw 32 parliaments meeting at the same time in a school. So I said, you have Red Cross? Okay. A red ribbon? Put a minister, one or two ministers in each neighborhood. So that what you discuss goes to each neighborhood, and more people are reached, and then your messages goes to more people, and nothing is weakened. Because since we are all participating, you are strengthened. So nothing needs to be threatened. So any organization say we will have a minister to represent your concern also. So that whatever you discuss comes to all the neighborhoods. So that way we can integrate everything within a non-threatening way. One. And then we could bring them in together at the next level, and at third level we could bring them together to begin with. And then anything decided goes to everybody else. And then gradually we could include the sociocracy way of decision making. That's a very interesting way. Instead of going for majority, minority, division of vote and so on, a very interesting way. And in our children's parliaments, we conduct our elections using sociocratic way. You know what is sociocratic way of making elections? Anybody knows? Yes. How many you know?
Some do.
Some, yeah. Very interesting. I think very simple. I can simply explain now in a few sentences. What we have in our children's parliaments, we say, okay, we have to elect the child prime minister for this parliament, okay. So what is the task? Electing the child prime minister for the parliament. Now, the facilitator asks, what does it mean to be a child prime minister for this parliament? What is the role? What are the challenges that person has to face? What responsibilities that person has to shoulder, like that. So everybody it goes in round like that. Everybody is given a chance to talk. Then afterwards, okay, that means this is more or less the role. That's what we agree. Okay. Now to shoulder this role, what type of a person do we need? Oh, this attitude, that competence, this skill, this experience, like this comes, Okay, everybody shares. So more or less we agree that this is the type of person we want. Okay. Now they are given everybody a slip of paper. Then everybody is told, write your own name first on the top of the paper. That means no secrecy. Okay. Then think seriously, who would, based on the discussions we had, who would be the person who would fit for this role? So think seriously, then write that person's name under your name. That means you are proposing so and so. And then, then the slips are collected. The facilitator says, you so and so propose so and so. What are the reasons? And you so and so propose so and so. What are the reasons? Everybody has to explain the reasons why they made that proposal. And then the facilitator says, okay, individually thinking you thought so and so would be better. Now you have listened to so many people's arguments, maybe you feel like changing your viewpoint. If so, take your slip and put it for somebody else. And before you do that, you have to explain to the group why now you are changing. Earlier I thought, okay, because of this and this is good, but this argument appeals to me. So that seems to be more valid, so I am changing. Like this, time is given for the people to make the change. Then once that process is over, the facilitator says, based on the arguments given and the whole situation, so and so seems to be the person. Any objection? And if there is any objection, it has to be not, I don't like, that's not the objection. It should be argued, that's given with a reason, and that reason should be serious, because everybody wants, you cannot wish him away for any flimsy reason. So if there is a serious reason that is affecting the functioning of the group, even if one fellow objects, that objection is valid. So now what about, then we will look for somebody else. What about this person because of this and these reasons? Any objection? No objection? Come on, let us celebrate, we elect. We have a prime minister. So no division, no secrecy, no bribing, no underhand dealing. So it just goes very smoothly. Like this they have also decision making process. And like this they sociocracy normally works in cooperation with non-violent communication. So all those things could be brought in there, a community could be evolved, and then we could have a governing council for this informally that will work and support. If there is already formal government, I don't know. If there are, we can support those structures. For time being, it goes an informal community support structure. Suppose we have one like that, where we also have the 17 goals represented down below in each group. What would be the advantages?
Well, everybody would be involved and
Okay.
they would know reasons,
Okay.
right? They would be accountable.
Okay, good.
People who are best for the job are elected.
Pardon?
People who are best for the job,
Will be, okay, good.
that function.
I wanted to add that in all the different groups that use dynamic community governance, we use this election process that was just explained very well. And it was this election process that was the most inspirational part of dynamic community governance for me. Now, Edwin is using the word sociocracy. Those are synonyms. You could use either word. But think about how powerful it is. The idea that, you know, for so many of us who are involved in different community groups, it becomes a begging situation. Would you please take on this task? We need somebody. And so it changes the dynamics completely from one of empowerment of, wow, this has really been thought through, this is important, as opposed to, would you please, because we don't know who else can do it. And you know, the transparency means that it's not, well, I'm going to nominate Molly to do it because I don't want her to be mad at me, so I better do it because otherwise she'll be upset. It's, you have to articulate, and you know, she's very sensitive like that. You really have to articulate. Now, you could articulate, it just makes me feel uncomfortable. You can articulate things that aren't necessarily, you know, something that you can put into words, but you have to articulate something. You can also nominate yourself. If you're the best person for the job, then you'd be depriving the group of you if you don't nominate yourself, if you fit the qualifications that the group laid out, you know, as Edwin described. So it really is a very fascinating process where there's no hiding. The thing about dynamic governance is you can't hide. You know, everyone gets a turn to speak. Now, you can choose to pass. You're not required to speak, but everyone truly has a place at the table.
Do any of the people who are suggested or who are nominated ever turn it down and say, no, I don't do that?
Sure, you could say, you know, thank you very much, but I'm already overcommitted, or whatever, I'm not available Thursday nights, whatever it is. But then that opens the discussion of, would you be open to do it, Marjorie, if somebody was doing it with you? Would you be open to do it if it was for 3 months instead of a year? So everything becomes open to negotiation as opposed to yes, no, good, bad.
I have a question specifically for the two of you, since, as I understand it, you're kind of leading this discussion of the practice of dynamic governance in Greenbelt. How would you envision Greenbelt City Council organized on the basis of kind of a dynamic governance participation?
I have to tell you that that question comes up more than any other question in Greenbelt. People have really brought up the issue of city council to us, and we have presented this to city council and have had discussions with various city council members about this. It could operate in a variety of different ways, one of which brings up the issue of Robert's rules, because city council right now runs with Robert's rules. The two are not diametrically opposed. You can have both. But one of the concerns about Robert's rules that I have is that it generally works very well for those people who are aware and knowledgeable of them, which is a very small subset of any group, so that once again becomes a power play between somebody who wants to say something and someone else saying, but you're violating Rule ABC and you're speaking out of order. So what this process does is encourage discussion, and Robert's Rules has a way of funneling it through. John?
We have another question.
Wait, did you want to add some more about that? So yes, there would definitely be.
May I respond to that?
Yeah, sure.
I actually have great, and we've had this discussion before, I actually, a long time, worker within committees, meetings that are set up on the basis of our rules, and they can be abused. They need to be, but they can be. But my question was, if I was dealing more with the participatory suggestion that's inherent in dynamic governance. Council exists, they have an agenda for their meeting. how could they be more inclusive, allow for more participation, whether or not Robert's rules might enter at some point in the.
That's a structural thing. I wonder if we could do it during the Q&A section. We had one more
We're
question
going to
here.
start the Q&A right after, because we're, actually, we should.
I wanted to get a little bit more into exactly how would you organize a neighborhood.
Okay.
Go ahead, because then my question can wait until Q&A.
Well, it's 4 o'clock, so this is when we were going to start the
Right,
Q&A.
and we started about 5 minutes late, so I want to
Okay.
take 5 minutes to
Yeah.
do like, okay, so let's say you were going to organize a neighborhood. You would go, the steps that you were describing that you use are you go and you start talking with people. What do you say? Hi, I want to form a neighborhood parliament.
I don't know what a neighborhood parliament is, and I don't know who you are, so no.
Don't raise your eyebrows.
What kinds of things would you be discussing with your neighbors if you wanted to organize it?
Yeah.
If you could speak to that.
Yeah, now we will just start that. No, suppose we have to convince the people to start neighborhood parliaments, make them come for the meetings. What could we tell them? Come out with some suggestions.
How did you do it? How did you organize all those people in India?
No, I will tell you. Let it come, start. No, okay.
Concerns were, I know in my community, we have certain concerns about pets and trash and inconsiderate neighbors of various sorts. And so we could say, you know, we're getting people together, we're trying to get people together so we can address these issues.
Good. Good. Come.
And my neighborhood's already has an organization. I live in Woodland Hills, which is 2 streets. And we already have an organization that meets once a year.
Once a year?
Once a year.
What's that?
She said they meet once a
The
year.
neighborhood meets once a year.
Once a year, okay.
It's always the same people. There's a few people who never come, so I feel like
Okay,
they're
yeah.
not being represented.
Fine, yeah.
They have the opportunity.
As I said, I'd like to hear how you actually did it.
Okay.
Speculate.
I'm a very new person here, so I don't really have any basis
Okay.
for ideas.
Good.
Hey neighbor, how can we organize more participation at the level of Greenbelt City Council? That would be my
Okay, fine.
suggestion.
To me, the first thing is understanding what the concerns are, what would motivate people.
Yeah.
But another question that I can ask is, what's standing in the way of you being more involved?
Yeah. Good.
I was thinking along the same lines. I think we need an aim and a goal to unite around. And I would seek for that. And I would try to get people's energy around what they think. And had they be part of the solution, what would that look like, sort of inviting them in?
I'd start with fun. I'd start with, let's get together and have a potluck or a party, because before people are going to trust you with stuff, they need to know who you are and feel comfortable. And in that environment, people are more likely to talk and share.
I would say one, and I found out something. The one idea was to present it like, you know, you obviously have your own opinions and concerns about what's happening around you. So just come, and there are people willing to listen.
Okay, that's great. That's a good idea, no? Yeah, that's one. Why not we note down that one? One suggestion. Then, among the suggestions that came, can we list down? That's fine.
We had ask for concerns. Artie,
Okay, good.
throw out the rest for me.
I guess like paraphrase what I just said, it's more like if you obviously have feelings about this, there's people out there that are willing to listen.
Okay.
We
People
want
out
to-
there who are willing to listen to you. Okay, good.
And I guess the reason I said it like that was because especially in more recent times, with a lot of policy, a lot of encouragement, made to us by organization groups, is to say, contact your congressman, contact your state assembly persons, contact your mayor's office. But a lot of what you're doing is you say something, but then it just gets ignored.
Yeah.
What else? I missed several. What?
One was to identify a common name. And the other one is ask for what is standing in the way, what's the obstacle?
Do you participate?
What? Yeah.
Obstacles to participate. Obstacles to you participating. What else is there?
Can we ask people suggestions how to make our neighborhoods a more responsive, a happier one?
Everyone would participate in that, I imagine.
More responsive and happier.
Oh yeah. How could we can ask people suggestions. Then we can ask them, would you like to have a better neighborhood? In what way? Then the people may come over with their own suggestions. Are there some needs that could be met by we coming together? Or we can also ask, is it good to be isolated entities or a collaborated communities? Would you like to have one, a collaborative community, supportive community? Or would you like to be islands, separate each house like that, with no relationship to anybody? Then are there advantages in being a collaborative community? Let it come from them, then we could build. Could we have some community celebrations, neighborhood community? Could we have some community projects?
So when you're organizing neighborhoods, you have people ask those questions.
Yeah.
And then how do you get them to come together?
Yeah. Any suggestions? Come on.
The interesting thing about those questions and the ones that we came up with was that it's almost, I can't imagine anybody saying no.
Yeah.
Or I can't imagine anybody saying, I don't have any idea.
Yeah.
And once they have an idea, now they invested themselves in, so they have a reason to be there.
Yeah.
Right? And it also gives them the feeling that, somebody's listening to you.
Yeah.
You just leverage that energy that you just created by inviting them into an area for a larger conversation, party or
Yeah.
something like that.
It could be just a neighborhood tea.
Right.
Come together, we want to listen to you, your suggestions on how we could make a happier one and what could be done better. We want to hear you. And we want to be a supportive community.
An issue that's come up, it's come up in Greenbrier, it comes up in GHI, it comes up in every housing situation, is the question of eviction. So I just happen to be aware that it comes up in GHI and Greenbrier on occasion, and at the point at which it comes up, the approach is, well, this person is doing or not doing A, B, C, and so we need to do something about it because they're either not, quote, not being responsible, or they're being a nuisance, or whatever, however it gets framed. What if we actually were organized this way so that we knew the person, so that we actually knew what the issues were, so that they could be addressed before it gets to the point of legal action? Because that's a real painful process for both sides of the equation, right? And costly, and time consuming, and energy consuming, and all that, and it creates a situation of good, bad, you know, you're the bad people, and you're the good people, and why are you being the bad people? So if you know somebody, it really makes it much harder to think in terms of good and bad.
Well, there's cases that people do know each other, and that's part of the problem. They know each other too well.
Well, but
And,
not.
and one side's not willing to be considered in property for the other.
But I don't think I mean, I personally don't think we're organized in a way that could address it, you know? It's the personal, we've got the personal thing going on of, you know, why are you doing A, B, C, but we're not organized on this community level where we have a structure in place for it. I don't think we have the structure, I mean, that's my sense, is we don't have the structure.
So we've got people together for a meeting, then what do? What's the next step?
Who are you asking this question of? Okay.
Edwin?
Okay.
Anybody else?
No, we'll just think, need not be the only person, let the ideas come, okay.
Well, if folks are getting together to have tea, or to play a game of ball, or to have a potluck, the happy resolution of that gathering is to enjoy oneself. If people are getting together to say, we've got a neighbor down the street who may or may not be a nuisance, and we have an opportunity to evict him, eject him from our community, and you're having that discussion, then the resolution of that discussion will not be necessarily having a good time or being happy, but to come up with a specific criteria by which that person either legitimately should be removed from the community or protected from being removed from the community.
Oh, okay, so there may
One
be
has a
some.
meeting as opposed to a social gathering to resolve to do something.
So I think it's important that the neighborhood gets some action, takes some action steps, has two common purposes, regardless of what it is. And that will then develop the core of people that can carry it forward. Is that just?
Yeah.
So
Good. Now, I will just give some examples. Whatever is applicable, you can take. Okay. One, in Hyderabad city, we have one city called Hyderabad. Okay. We went there, we wanted to organize one big slum as neighborhood groups. We got some volunteers together from various areas. We did a kind of mapping to define now which group will be in, which houses will be in which neighborhoods. So we planned one, and then we sent two people to each of these neighborhoods. They did a kind of house visiting, house to house, met people that when we have some, we are all living as isolated people here. Why not we do something together to solve our problems, to make us be a happier community? Why don't they come together for a kind of a meeting? So they did that house visiting. By evening, they got the people all together in various places, in each of the neighborhoods. And when they came there, said, what are our problems? Can we do something about it? Can we have temporarily some people to be in charge? Later on, we shall develop more. That way it got started, one. Then in elsewhere, we evolved in a kind of a month-long program, especially for children's parliaments. What do we say? Okay, first do the mapping. This will be this neighborhood, this will be this will be this neighborhood. And have a kind of a survey taken in each neighborhood. So that in the very survey gives us some kind of an identity, or we are all here, something like that. And then we bring in various exercises. They include games, cultural programs, and then there is something called they call participatory rural appraisal. I don't know whether you know that. This is a kind of a series of techniques whereby community knows its strengths, its weaknesses, its history, its timelines, and then it assesses its priorities. For example, one example we give. We have what we call chapati diagram. You know what is chapati? Chapati means a kind of an Indian bread like small. It will be round shaped. So we call chapati diagram. That means for each problem a kind of a round, paper round like. And then for the biggest problem, biggest round. For the smallest problem, smallest round. For the in-between problems, rounds of that size. So they say, so this is the most important problem here. This is the next important problem, and this is the grade wise this one. So they have a kind of perspective, the comparative importance of that their problems. And then they ask, can we now see which problems are interconnected? Okay, so whatever is close to the other problems you put near that. And then they sit as a group and then they identify and say, oh, these are all the problems we have. And that one. Then they give another example. Can we have a kind of timeline of this neighborhood? That means, when did this neighborhood get started? What are the various historical milestones? And what were the results after each such milestone? How this get developed? Or we say, ask all your children, we tell them, ask all your grown-ups, what was really the history of the village? Come out with all the history. This all gives a kind of background to the children to situate their problem. And then they say, what could be, one thing they know, SWOT analysis, that they do, strength, weakness, that also they do. And then they have another, some 20 years, some 10 years from now, how would you envision the neighborhood? They put various ideas, that's dreaming like. And then they say, now can we come out with some goals, proper goals, time-bound goals to be achieved within this and this time? They kind of chart out the goals. And then say, now to achieve this goals, what will be the steps required? What would be the money involved? What else will be? All these discussions will take place. And gradually they become a community that thinks together, acts. And then we say birthdays in the neighborhood. Anybody's birthday is celebrated together in the neighborhood. Like this, And then so we ask the people, is it good to be strangers to one another? Are people concerned about one another? What would be the difference? What would be the advantages? Like this various ways we used to tell them that it's good to come together, good to relate, and we ask the people, what would be the advantages? So for example, I was telling him the other day the story of Bombay. Bombay, the city, we have a city called Bombay. And then there was a big riot. So many were killed, burned and everything like that. It was a comparatively peaceful place. And everybody felt at home there, felt secure. All of a sudden a big riot happens. So many were killed. And then people, the neighborhoods become, people were throwing stones and destroying others' houses like that. Then what has happened? They found out that it was not the neighbors who was creating problems. Some paid people were brought from elsewhere, they were creating problems. People thought neighbors were attacking them because they didn't know who were their neighbors. And this would not have happened. Suppose they knew one another. And then another example I was giving,
I have to say, we have to be ending pretty soon because we have to be absolutely out of here.
Okay.
At 5, I'm wondering if we could do a Q&A now.
Yeah, a couple of questions with all that. One is, to follow up on what Marjorie was saying, how about the people that just don't come? That you talk to them, don't you get people that just don't want to participate?
Yeah.
So you're not really including everyone. How do you deal with that?
No, we invite everybody.
Right, you invite them, but if they're not participating.
No, we cannot ensure that everybody will participate in the beginning itself. But nobody is not invited. We take seriously, we try to convince them. But not everybody will be immediately convinced. But with everybody who comes, we start. And I did that in our neighborhood. Some people are not coming. When I started in the first village, they would not come. Some of them thought below their dignity to come down and sit with others. Then I said, don't disturb them, invite them. If they don't come, don't bother. But let us not be inimical to them. Let us keep ourselves open. And after some time, what happened, when many others were coming together, they felt isolated. They automatically wanted to come in.
Find out what's happening.
Okay. And then in another place, what happened when the community was coming like that, one very rich man's house, he didn't want to come at all. Then what happened, all of a sudden his wife got sick. When his wife got sick, it is this organized community that was rushing their help since they were organized. And they were taking so much interest. Later on, he became the biggest supporter for the community. These are a process like that comes.
Nothing works like success.
Yeah.
Right.
So the other question was, that you're saying you were actually going into areas and defining what the neighborhoods are.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Now what I say, find people who are really interested in doing it, convinced. Make out of them a small nucleus starting group.
Talk to them.
Start to them and let them go and start and let them plan and bring like that. Because only those who are convinced will be able to make an initiative.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
Another We the People, John's book, just letting you know, it's available. I am so thrilled and honored that you came to speak with us. I am so thrilled that you all came to join us today. Thank you so much for Gate to being here. We're so grateful. And we will be here until 5 o'clock, so questions can be answered. If you want to ask questions one-on-one, that is fine.